So up a steep hill with gravel, etc. I can do this with opinion. It's not really a problem. Getting started is the biggest problem. Language issue. What I wanted to tell. So I was went through past a woman. I said good evening, добрый вечер. She said здравствуйте, which is Russian. So we are 150 kilometers away from Kiev, a bit in the mostly towards the east and a little bit towards the south. Yeah, people speak Russian in Kiev as well still. They don't suddenly just change. The language issues. Okay, so if you speak a language, it is not just about a connection with a country. I mean, Belgians speak French and Dutch, but they're not Dutch and they're not French. And Ukrainians speak Russian or Ukrainian. The origin of Russian speaking is, of course, from the Soviet Union and people moving here, but also being the official language of the Soviet Union, so it was taught everywhere. And some people grew up with Russian, or most, I think that's difficult to say exactly. I'm not an expert, but in the West, there was always more speaking of Ukrainian, and the origin is that it was spoken more, or where it grew, survived, was more in the farm areas. And I heard a comment or read a comment somewhere that to Russians, Ukrainian sounds rustic. Anyway, it depends on with what you grew up. It is not related to Russia. There is some connection between language and personality, but that's another issue that's very interesting. And I thought, when I first thought about it many years ago, I thought different films, and I thought, there are different characteristics of people and the films. And there's a connection there, and I thought, maybe it's not really something deeper, but actually it is. It's very deep. Culture and language are created by people, but the reverse is also true. The language in the people, language in the culture forms the people. This is also why large-scale immigration has a destructive influence on a society. And you can see that everywhere, in especially Europe, where immigrants start complaining about customs, names of schools, names of streets, blah blah blah, because it's racist this or that, or a load of bullshit. Some people from history those names are used not because they're such saints, but because they were important to the history of a country. And of course the crazy thing is that some people think or suggest that countries or peoples, let's say, because there weren't countries even in many places, like the USA or Mexico, there were people who lived somewhere, but not specific borders, etc., or even migrating people. So using this, going along with, I think with the bison, some of the Native Americans. Yeah, the thing is, without the Europeans, all those people in Africa would still be living in almost a Stone Age, or Iron Age or something. Well, everything in the modern world is created by Europeans. And they were the ones, the Africans, who were started with commercial selling of slaves. I think they were, at least in quantities in Europe, it was more like you get captured in a war and then you become a slave. Things like that. So Europeans created everything, ended slavery, created the United Nations. Because of everything, of course, the impetus is from Europeans and Americans, with Americans from European origin. And then suddenly, when rules get instated for how to treat people, how to not invade other countries, then people from those other countries who haven't created anything start complaining about, for example, how the wealth from the West came from there, which is complete bullshit. Wealth does not come from any raw materials. Wealth comes from mechanization. That's what created real wealth. The modern world was created by Europeans because of several factors. One, they are explorers, which the Asians aren't, which the Africans aren't. Two, they have a good work ethic, which the Africans don't have. You can see it in Africa. You can see it when Africans come here here in the Netherlands. There's this interesting documentary, Empire of Dust. You can find it on YouTube, about Chinese building roads in Africa. It's very interesting. It shows you a lot of the different mentalities. One of the guys criticizing the Africans, yeah, you had railways left by the Europeans before we did. What did you do with it? You ran it into the ground. Of course, the Chinese did do something, but it's also the difference in attitudes between them and the Africans in the USA. The Chinese create something, they work hard, do something. The Europeans, they work hard, not always, not all of them. For example, it was, I think, with the building of the railroads in the USA, that the Chinese were much harder working than, for example, the Irish, who were drinking more. And I made a comment about it somewhere, and someone said, yeah, but look at the opium dens, etc. It doesn't really matter what you... The difference is clear in work ethic. It's really clear. The difference in intelligence, I'm not so sure about. Because, for example, the Netherlands is very close to the top, and we have almost no Asians. So people say Asians have the highest average intelligence, and there's almost no difference with the Netherlands. And we don't have many Asians. And yeah, I think it was already long ago, before there were a lot of people migrating here. Here, and then I mean the Netherlands, not Ukraine. So that's there's something not quite, but IQ, also, if you measure that, it's not the same as intelligence, and it could be that the difference. That is the difference, but that is something very, complicated. Not quite complicated, but I need to tell you a lot more about it. I don't think psychologists understand it properly, because one comment about this was, yeah, IQ is not exactly the same as intelligence, but it's a good predictor, for example, of income that people will make. I thought, oh my God, these people think in terms of money, how simplistic. Is that everything? No, of course it is not. Oh, I can see, by the way, pretty well in this view, but on the camera screen I see almost nothing. So it'll be time to switch off. It's been interesting here in Lubny. I went through here, I think in 2016 or 2017. I need to check which it was. And I noted on the map this is an interesting town with a nice park. And yeah, it has cool parks. This is sort of an wild area. Not really a park, even though it's supposed to be on the... There are some sections which are a park, but maybe it got built up. I don't know. That's it for now. Bye.